I do it more so to look cool.
Game changer. Game changer.
You were against them.
I
You
was
didn't
because they
want
looked
them.
stupid.
I thought they looked cool from the beginning.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Gimbal Guys podcast. I'm here with Nick. We've been trying to think of a different way to intro this, but we
Can't think of
Can't think
anything,
of
so we're just going to jump right in here.
What are we talking about today?
Well, today we are talking about kind of just going over our wedding gear kit and kind of saying, like, explaining what pieces of gear are kind of essential and crucial for our like type of production, I guess. Like, we'll kind of tell you on the vendor side, like, you know, the actual gear for those gear nerds out there. We'll tell you exactly what we're using. But then we'll also try and put it in some layman's terms so anyone who's not a gearhead, not a videographer, can actually understand what we're saying and understand the value that and like the reasons why we're using this type of gear. Yeah.
I think it's important for if you're a couple or a planner, just kind of like understanding a little bit behind the scenes, like what goes into the production. Because I think it'll give you a little bit more of kind of like a sense of ease because of what we choose to produce, what we do is very intentional. So, and we just like talking about gear because we are also gear nerds ourselves. So I guess let's start with kind of like the camera kit, like what is in our camera bags. I think obviously you need cameras to film weddings.
Yeah.
We've got 4 of them and they're all the Sony A7S IIIs. And so we choose these. Honestly, I think there's a few main reasons. Size, form factor, works really well for wedding productions. Just the kind of like internal specs associated with it has fantastic dynamic range, which in layman's terms, dynamic range is, you know, how much information you have in the highlights and the shadows of your image at the same time. So we can essentially, you know, shoot on a really bright day and get kind of like full detail in the sky and the clouds, and then also detail in the shadows as well, which kind of like makes it feel a little bit more real life, in my opinion. So that's a huge reason why we have this. Easy color grading. It also has 4K 60 video, which is pretty much what we're shooting at the whole day. So nice and crisp, but also the ability to kind of like use slow motion when we need it. And then I think, honestly, the biggest thing why this is like a perfect wedding videographer camera is the dual native ISO and the low light performance.
I think that, and also the no time limit for recording.
Yeah.
Because ceremonies can easily go more. A lot of cameras, not anymore, but used to have a cap of 30 minutes and then the clip would stop. So that does not work if you're trying to film like a 45-minute or hour-long ceremony, especially like a church ceremony. Those are always going to be an hour long. So for us, having an unlimited record limit, it's really just depending on how much battery power it has. If the battery would die, but they can last for a while. Yeah. So we can record for hours on end without worrying that our clip is going to stop.
Yeah, that's huge. I feel like there's like a lot of other little small things of why we love these cameras, and we honestly just know them like the back of our hand now. So
they're low key a little outdated,
sort of, but like not really.
They're still fine. I think they actually are a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
in camera years, it's actually kind of been a while.
When there's an A7S IV, then we'll probably upgrade to that or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll explore something in the cinema line, but very versatile, very great for the wedding day. So I love our A7S IIIs. All right, I guess after that's lenses, right? So
yeah, and this is where things can definitely vary on like the type of wedding videographer you are. Like, there's some people that are more run and gun solo shooters where they need zoom lenses so they can really cover that wide range of wide angle and some tight. But for us, we have 2 people for one, but also just the look that it gives us, we prefer prime lenses.
Yes.
And sure, we are a little limited with the range that we have. We're kind of stuck there. We can't zoom in or out, but we've learned to figure out like ways to like kind of get around that. We both go on different lenses all the time. So one of us is always on the wider side, one of us is on the tighter side. So if there are any moments, we just say like, yo, can you sub in and grab this real quick?
This is a 35 shot or this is a 50 shot. But we also do have zoom lenses in our kit for parts of the day that require that. Yes. So running down the list, we've got. Do you usually bring your 35 millimeter as well? Do we have two of those on the day?
I have it.
Yeah, so we have two 35 millimeters on the day.
Before we say this is what I wish we should do, and maybe 2025 we can try and be a little more intentional. Like I want our two backpacks to have two different reasons, like two different like things in them. So like I know Jake and Nate used to do this. I don't know if they still do, but like one of them carried all the audio gear, one of them carried all the drone gear, like that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, okay, your bag carries this, my bag carries this. But anyway, I digress.
Kind of gets split up because we each have
we carry multiples of everything, which sure helps, but might be a little redundant.
Yeah.
Like,
could get like a Pelican case or something, but honestly, that might slow us down. So
I don't want a Pelican case.
Yeah. So we got two 35 millimeters. Rarely are we ever using both at the same time. One of them is kind of just a backup, and we're sticking with Sony for that because it's super small. So again, that's a form factor thing. Keeps the camera setup pretty light, and it works flawlessly with our native Sony cameras. So like, and it just looks great. So I think if I had a critique on that lens, maybe the autofocus could be a little bit better. It's a little jumpy. At least, I mean, I notice it more because I'm on it.
I hardly use that lens anymore, honestly. So yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah. And the next set of lenses is our 50 millimeters, and we each have one of those as well. So this is usually two 50s on the day. But Nick's usually on the 50. I'm usually on the 35. So we rarely ever cross paths for
system.
That. Yeah. And it just works like that. It's a nice system. Your 50 is a Sony one.
Yeah, I use a Sony 1.2.
How often are you at 1.2 on a wedding day?
On a wedding day, I might drop it down like once or twice.
More than you want to admit?
I'll probably drop it down like twice. I chill on F2 all day pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, that one has a decent form factor as well. It's beefier
it's a little beefy, but I mean, it's still lighter than the Sigma. The Sigma lenses are low-key heavy.
Yeah. And I have the Sigma 50 just because that's what I've used for years, and I just don't feel like upgrade. Maybe I'll upgrade this year. I still don't have a need to.
You can't really tell. Like today, if you're watching you on YouTube, the camera filming me is the Sony 1.2, and the camera filming Sam said the lens is the Sigma. So like, if you see a difference, let me know. But I doubt you do. There's no real way to do it in this.
I think the Sigma lenses, maybe this is just what I've noticed, are like a little warmer.
Yes, that's true.
It's like they make your image look a little bit more orange.
It's not like
not noticeable.
That type of thing happens throughout any brand change, but none of it is significant enough where you can't slightly adjust it in post, like by like 2%, and it's boom, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
So like, sure, out of camera it might look slightly different, but change one little setting in post and you're fine.
Yeah. Next set of lenses is our telephotos, which we basically only use. Well, I was going to say we only use it for the ceremony, but we also use it for
two
speeches.
For it.
It's basically anytime we need a tripod cam for formalities, and that lens is the 70 to 180 from Tamron.
And this is why we have 4 cameras, because basically 2 cameras just live on those 2 tripods with those lenses on it, and we just carry the whole tripod as a unit just around with us.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to really do with that once you set it up is carry it from the ceremony to the reception, and then you don't have to break it down and set it back up, which is super convenient. We were running 3 cameras for a while, and then we realized that was just not, like, we needed the 4.
It just makes it a little more efficient.
Yeah.
Like, no more swapping out lenses right before the ceremony, just in case you were running late.
Yeah. And we run the 4 camera setup at the ceremony now too. We still only use 3 for the speeches because that's all you need. But those 7180s are, when I was first introduced to them, I was skeptical because they're not, a Sony lens. Most people get like the 70 to 200 from Sony G Master.
I only trusted Sigma and Sony initially.
Yeah. And that's an expensive lens. But Tamron came out with this one, I would assume for the wedding industry. I would assume or just kind of like a direct competitor to the 70 to 200. Sure, you lose 20 millimeters of range, but For
You
a
don't
ceremony
notice it.
site, you don't need 200 millimeters for a ceremony site or speeches, unless you're like,
And you're shooting in 4K, so just crop it.
true.
No one cares.
I mean, I would say most of the time we're at like 135 anyway, or 100.
Yeah,
depending
no,
on the
I feel like we're
set.
never actually zoom all the way into 180.
Yeah, unless we're like way far away. But they're sharp. Picture quality is good. I mean, maybe they're also a little warmer than the Sony lenses, but who cares? Again, something you can just fix.
We
in
got these
post
when we
or-
were first starting out as wedding videographers, and they were a fraction of the price of the Sony G Master ones. So we're like, this
less
is a
than half the
no
price.
brainer. Yeah.
Yeah, and they still hold up today, so no need to upgrade or anything like that. So those will stay with us for the long haul. We had a casualty this past year with one of them, so we upgraded to the Gen 2 for one of the lenses. If you want to know what happened, Nick knocked over my tripod.
I feel like I've definitely told that story somewhere. But yeah, long story short, I knocked it over.
We're not perfect. But at least it protected the camera.
That was my biggest fear. Like, I didn't give a shit about the lens. I knew the
was
lens
just a
was
camera.
I knew the lens was destroyed, but I knew it was a shitty lens anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't care about that. I care about the camera mount, like the sensor mount. Is that damaged?
Yeah, I didn't care about it either. So that's fine. We got our 70 to 180s and we're sticking with them.
And then you use the 24 to 70 occasionally.
It has one like guaranteed use case on the day for me. And I always just use the 24 to 70 for like our backup camera at the back of the ceremony site. Just cause like sometimes sometimes we'll have it all the way out wide, but more recently we've been putting it at like 50 to be more of a, I guess, medium shot of the couple. So it's not like the
Personally,
whole crowd.
I prefer the tighter.
Yeah.
Like I would go like, Alex and I have gone like 70 to 180 on that sometimes too, and just had like a super, super isolated shot.
Yeah.
I would actually use that. I hardly ever, if ever, use that fourth camera angle in the actual highlight video. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine
It's
with
not
what
really
we're doing.
for that though.
It's safety. It's there.
What I use more often if I need to use a third angle is when we plop our gimbal at the back of the aisle.
See, I find myself never using that anymore.
If I want a 2-shot, I'll put that on screen for like 2 seconds. But again, it's more so for the ceremony film. If I need to cut to that, if the two side angles, like if somebody's blocking it for some reason.
I find the
or it's
wider,
getting moved.
the fourth camera wide is way more useful in the highlight, the ceremony film.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, all right, it'll capture anyone walking around. Like, so if our tight angles are not getting these people walking, like the wide's got it.
Yeah. It's great. It's great for a very specific use case in the ceremony film. When they have like kind of like people coming up to the front for like readings. And so instead of like leaving it on one of the side cams, because usually the side cams aren't set up for somebody to like go do a reading, I usually cut to the wide cam during that transition period.
exactly.
And then we like move. Very specific use case, but that's why I like it. And I mean, yeah, we'll kind of like that's why it has a zoom lens. We'll just kind of base that focal length off of the ceremony setup. Cause like if we're in like a really like grand church or something like that, we might actually leave it wider so that the couple can kind of like look back on the whole environment.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's something where it's like, the whole environment isn't that like crazy, we might just use it a little bit tighter. So we kind of just play that one by ear, see how it works on the day.
We no longer use a 16 to 35 really. Like I think I stopped bringing it all together. Like earlier on, we would get to the venue and like instantly throw on the 16 to 35 to run around and get some wide establishing shots. I can't remember the last time we did that.
I think I'm going to bring it back for like one shot and 1 or 2 shots. Wide ceremony site, completely empty.
We did abandon that a little bit too, which I'm fine with, honestly, but if you want to bring it back, we can.
I will, because so it's great for establishing that, but also I think I want just like one shot of the reception space empty as well.
We also did abandon that.
Because like we focus a lot on like tight details and stuff, because like, I mean, just in our opinion, that like looks better. But from the storytelling perspective, if you can throw a wide shot in there.
You're
so
right.
I think we're definitely not bringing 2, but I'll probably throw it in the bag.
We've gotten away with using the 24. The 24 to 70 has gotten away with it, but
could experiment.
It's not 16. Like 16, it makes a difference.
Yeah. There's some other filmmakers I follow who do throw on like a wide lens and they use that for like a couple shots. I mean, sometimes the timeline doesn't allow for it, so it's tough.
Right.
But I don't know. I'll experiment with that this year, see if we want to bring it back.
Another common lens that we don't use is the 85.
I was on here as well. I was going to mention it. Okay. I also want to use that more this year.
You do?
Because, well, so I feel like I'll use it in a very specific scenario. I think I'm going to leave my 35 on for like getting ready, stuff like that. Which I guess going back to the 35, why we like using that in the early parts of the day, or why we might need 2 copies of that lens, even though Nick usually stays on the 50, is sometimes getting ready spaces are pretty tight. So if you need to get like not a wide, you're never doing wide shots in the getting ready space, but if you need to be close and get kind of like a, little bit more of a full body thing, then the 35 is a good use case.
I'll throw on my 35 for getting readies.
Yeah. So I'll probably leave it on for that and most of the portraits, but I want to experiment with using the 85 for maybe like some sunset portraits. And depending on the setup, maybe the first dance, it's a little iffy. So what we'd probably have to do a 3-camera setup for the first dance. If we were doing this, we'd probably have to have like a safety wide or something. And then the 2 of us running around. Cause I feel like sometimes like our light stands get in the shot and then like,
they definitely do.
Yeah. It's like for the highlight film, I'm not crazy about it. Like for the first dance film and stuff, like it doesn't matter. They're just there on the day. But for the highlight film, I pretty much usually will use a 50mm shot if I'm using a first dance shot, because there's usually some lights in the background, there's some more compression, and like just looks a little snazzier. So maybe getting some cool parallax shots with the 85 might be a nice experiment. Again, I'll just have to experiment case by case, but I want to try it more.
I've used it more than you because I've used it with Alex for a few years. I definitely like how it looks. Like, I mean, Jake and Nate use it for a reason, right? Like, it looks good.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, I don't want to say harder, but it's so tight.
It definitely is. Yeah.
That like any micro movement you make is going to make a pretty big difference in the shot. So it's like,
which is why I'll only use it in like specific use cases.
Like when he had me put it on, I low-key didn't want to. I was like,
dude, this is not going to be usable footage.
Like I wasn't the best at using it when I first tried it, but done right, it looks good because it's like that's why I like the 50, because I can get away with it looking fairly compressed, but with the 85, it's like true compression and it looks really good, especially it's 1.8 at the lowest, but even f2 like for that type of compression would look really good. I think the only time I ever used it was for like couples portraits, like sunset-y type stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever used it in first dance. I think it was really just that one scenario.
I would probably, for like first looks, I feel like a 50 and an 85 might work better than a 50 and a 35, because then we can be a little bit further away.
I think a first look would be actually the optimal use case for it.
So I'll probably just throw it in the top of my bag.
Getting further away is better. So we're just more out of their bubble.
Yeah. We'll try it a little bit more this year. See if we like it.
I will say it's the one thing that annoys me is because it's the one I have that definitely doesn't help. I don't have the G Master version. It's just the 1.8. So it's way smaller and lighter than everything else. So it's a major shift on your gimbal balancing.
Well, maybe not if I'm going from the 35.
It's still way lighter. Like it's the same like size, but it's definitely way lighter.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for me, switching from like a Sigma 50 to that was rough. And I had to do it in like a few seconds. That's what made it harder for me. Like balancing the gimbal while Alex is already like walking down the hill. I'm like, dude, wait up. I got to balance this. Jeez. He's like, oh, just catch up. See you on the other side. So yeah, no, I'd be down to experiment with it more.
I think that's it for lenses. Other kind of like items in the camera bags. How many camera batteries do you think we have between the two of us? I think I have
close to 30, honestly. I have at least 12.
You have 12
at
yourself?
Least. At least.
Jeez.
Probably more.
I forgot how many I put in my
I
bag.
don't bring them all, though.
I think I only have 6.
I think
I might have more. I might have 8.
Let's see, if I have 2 in my cameras, I think I bring 10 on a wedding day because I have a little compartment where I do 4 and 4 stacked on top of each other, plus the 2 already in the cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I bring about 10.
Yeah. And
I don't use them all.
We usually go through the 2 kind of like ceremony speech cams. You could probably get away on one battery for like the whole thing, but usually we'll just switch it anyway.
We have enough. So
like 2 batteries per that for each of those cams. So that's 4. And we probably, on our main cameras, we probably go through 3 each.
4 on a big day.
So like we go through 10. But like not all the way to 0. Usually we'll just...
I'll swap it at like 30.
Yeah, we'll swap out before formalities just to make sure we can record the whole thing in full without the battery dying. So again, if you're a couple listening to this, just know we've got batteries up the wazoo.
The only time I'll run a camera down to 0 is at the end of the night. And I say, it's like, all right, as soon as this battery dies, I'm leaving.
True. Yeah. Just filming dancing. And it's like,
all right, this battery's at like 4%. And as soon as this battery's dead, we're done.
Technically, we're here till 9:30, but my camera battery's at 5%. So
we use that as like a timer for ourselves to be like, all right, time to go.
And usually we're done shooting by 3% anyway. So, yeah, tons and tons of camera batteries. I also have kind of like, we each have like external monitors that we throw in, which
I don't.
Oh, you don't put yours in your bag anymore?
For a wedding? No.
I throw mine in my bag. I started using it last year for just kind of like fine tuning framing for like ceremony speeches, but I kind of stopped using it just because it slows me down.
Yeah, no, I think this past year I was all about maximum efficiency. I stripped down my camera backpack to only bring what I actually use. Mm-hmm. That's why I stopped bringing like the 85 and the 16 and 35 because I was like, just a waste of space.
Yeah.
And now I have extra space in my bag. So like, it's not as heavy anymore.
Put it back in now. Yeah. I mean, that'll probably not be in our bags anymore. And we know how to like, some people like can only kind of like properly expose their image if they have the external monitor and stuff like that, or they need to see their LUT in real time. And it's like, we've been exposing with the LCD screen for
5 years.
And like,
we're good enough.
Totally fine with that. Yeah.
Maybe not perfect, but we're good enough.
You know what the monitor is great for? Just to like make yourself look more legit. Just makes your camera setup bigger.
I agree, but I don't think that's necessary on a wedding day.
It's more necessary for corporate stuff.
Exactly. I was about to say it's more.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, same.
Guilty as charged.
I literally never use my monitor ever, but just for the look for corporate stuff, yeah, I'll throw it on to make it look bigger.
Yeah. Other batteries we've got in the camera bags are, you probably have 4 of your own, like the bigger batteries that we use to power our lights. Yeah. Those also, if we had monitors, they power the monitors too. I have like 2 small ones now and then 2 larger ones.
But I'll probably get small ones.
The smaller ones aren't great for the lights because
I wouldn't use them for the light, but I want it for like a slider.
Oh yeah, which
I'm not. Yeah, not wedding related.
We're not bringing a slider for a wedding.
Just talking batteries for a second.
Imagine doing like an interview slider for like the couple cam or like the.
That would be speaker. I'm sure people do. That's so extra.
All the photographers and DJs just take photos of like, look at these dudes.
What the hell are these
so
kids
extra?
Doing?
Never for a wedding, but yeah, no, they're decent. The ones I have, I'll send you the link later. But yeah, the 2 larger ones for the lights, and usually I never go through a whole battery with my lights.
We only would for my one that's an RGB light because that just drains battery.
We're gonna get rid of that thing.
It sucks.
We'll go through lights later.
It's so complicated to actually like adjust. Like I figured it out and I can do it.
I haven't,
but no one else can
Nick deal with it
because it's so complicated. You got to press certain buttons in a certain order, and it's way too complicated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our current like our preferred lights, they don't make them anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
So the
they
reason
don't
I got
exist.
this one was it was supposedly the like next best thing / replacement. And sure, it's fine, but definitely want a different one.
Yeah, we have the Lupo light panels.
They're perfect too. Like I wish they didn't go out of business or whatever happened to them.
So your new one is Lupo as well, I think.
It is, yeah.
So it's yours is supposed to be kind of like the upgrade, but
It's not
a
It's
downgrade.
such a downgrade.
Like our original light panels, they're bicolor, which again, in layman's terms, means we can change the color temperature of them. So, you know, most of the time we're leaving them on the warmer side to kind of like match the reception space. But if outsized daylight and we have like a lot of natural light coming in, but we want to do like a little bit more of a pop on the subject, we'll kind of like color balance that to daylight. And
It's either orange or white light for layman's terms.
okay. Orange or white light. And that's all we need. They're bright enough. You know, they're small, so they're on the harder side. They're a little bit more harsh,
And I'm
I
fine
guess.
with that.
But if you put it in the right spot, then it works out. I mean, your other one's like technically slightly larger, but it doesn't make a difference.
No, it's not as bright because it's
Yeah.
RGB. It's like only half the
Yeah.
pixel thingies are being lit up when it's in the bicolor mode, so it's not even as bright as the other ones.
Yeah. And the cool thing about like the lights we have is that like when it comes down to like dance floor party dancing, they kind of just turn into like spotlights, like stage spotlights. So like we can get some really cool shots with that. But also, I mean, at least in my opinion, I'm sure other people beg to differ. They don't feel as intrusive as like some larger lights.
I mean, yeah,
but
I don't think they are. We've been told by some that they were, but
yeah. I mean, we set the expectation with the couple. Like, we have those lights so that we can get you a better image
it's
of like
never
your
the
memories.
couple. It's always either like the DJ telling us or some random ass guest being like, "Yo, we're gonna turn these off," or like, "Can you like,
Yeah.
move these?"
And if the couple ever asks us to turn them off, we'll turn them off.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone besides the couple asks me, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But if you're just a random ass guest and you're telling me to turn it off, no.
Yeah. But we like them. We're going to keep using them until those ones die. And then I don't know which ones we're going to get after that because nothing has come close.
No, I feel like this is like a common problem because I feel like a lot of other wedding videographers, I think like Justin Porter and Matt, have also said like the lights that they use, they don't make them anymore. So like, why does that keep happening?
I don't know.
To all the wedding videographers' lights. They
Everybody's trying to
stopped
make like
making them.
smarter lights, but clearly the new third light we bought is not very smart or tries to be smart. And it's just poorly made. But well, I think we'll go into more of the rest of our lighting stuff, which isn't much after, but kind of like wrapping up our camera bag stuff. You know, always got to have those multi-tools. We have one from Small Rig. Basically, we mostly just use like the flathead part of it, but there's what do you call them?
Hex things.
Hex keys, Allen key.
Allen keys. Yeah, Allen keys.
There's Allen keys. There's a few, I think, is there a Phillips head on it? There's a Phillips head on it too. So those come in handy sometimes. I mean, we have these plates on our cameras now that the only thing that we ever need to use it for is our tripod plates.
Well, that one's like the shitty rigged one. I've made sure all my tripods can take the one plate now.
Yeah. So our quick release plates that we have on our gimbals they're called Arca Swiss plates. And so if you're not familiar with gear stuff, basically all you need to know is that it works on our gimbals and our tripods as well. But for it works on our gimbals and our smaller tripods. For our bigger tripods, they have a different type of plate, and we just leave those plates on the tripod cameras. Like we usually put it on before we even show up on the wedding day,
right?
So we can just throw it on the tripod.
Another reason to have 4 cameras.
Yeah, so we don't have to fiddle with plates and multi-tools and stuff. But we have the multi-tools just in case. I'm sure it's handy in other cases too, like outside of camera stuff. No pocket knives.
Although I don't carry a knife on a daily, but
Just get like an everyday carry.
last year there was a time where we needed a knife, and well, not I really, and the photographer, we were with
Weren't
the
you
groom.
cutting the groom's shirt?
Yeah,
or
so the
something?
photographer has his own
I don't
little,
know, that seems
has a whole
sketchy.
kit, and he whipped out this knife, and we're like, all right, dude, we're gonna cut your shirt. because
That's a planner's job. That's not our job.
well, no one was there, and he had
Yeah, they didn't have
those
a planner.
wrists. What are they called? The
Cufflinks.
cufflinks. Yeah, but
You
his
just need a
shirt
hole.
didn't have the proper hole. But we asked him. We were like, "Do you have 2 shirts?" He's like, "Yeah." We're like, "Okay, so if we fail, you got a backup." He's like, "Yeah, go for it." So we basically just stabbed a hole in his shirt so his cufflink could go in.
Yep. So maybe we should get a little knife. But again, if we work with our friend Amanda, she's probably got
Everything. Yeah.
She's got everything. We don't need to worry about that. Multi-tools, got our lens cleaning stuff. If it gets dusty, you know, our cloth and dust puffer. You know, Nick needs that as of recently.
I found it actually recently.
The dust puffer?
Yeah, like 2 days ago I found it.
The
It was in my
little,
sister's room for some reason.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes when you buy lenses, they come with these kits, and you're like, I don't need it. But then
You don't need it until you do.
yeah, then you realize, oh, I do. So I always have a cloth handy and a dust puffer. But you know, usually we're not changing lenses that much just based on our workflow. So we don't need to worry about cleaning stuff.
All right, what else is there?
Last but not least, in the camera bag, you're gonna roll your eyes. It's our filters.
All right, we're gonna talk about audio.
We're gonna go into that in the camera bag.
Okay.
We're only like
I figured
halfway
we
through
keep
our
all this
stuff.
stuff in the camera. All of this is in the camera bag.
Yeah, the audio kit's kind of separate though, but I guess more camera related stuff. Filters goes on the lenses. You know, I'll use an ND filter when applicable. We had a whole conversation about this. Got a little bit of backlash. You know, we're not always using ND filters, but when we can, we'll throw them on. Got step up rings so that you know, certain filters don't fit certain lenses, so we carry those so that, you know, we don't have to buy like a separate ND filter for every single lens we have.
They are expensive.
We can just like adapt them. And my favorite step up ring is so my ND filters are 82 millimeter threads. So that can basically go on my 24 to 70 if I have a 16 to 35. It's basically like the biggest filter thread I would need. And that's like a rule of thumb is you should just buy the biggest filter thread. My favorite pickup I made is this 67 millimeter to 82 millimeter step up ring. And I have that that lives on my 35 for the whole wedding day. And then I just kind of like, I keep my ND filter in my back pocket, screwed on, screwed off based on the situation. And usually I think it must be sort of a new thing because you used to do 67 to 77 and then 77 to 82. You used to have to use 2 rings and then it gets complicated and it's fussy. But this new one I picked up is game changer. It makes things so much faster and nothing gets stuck. So I'll keep that on. I also have a Promus filter in my bag that I have used at like one wedding, but I think it could be fun to experiment with it. And again, a Promus filter, for those of you who don't know, is it gives your image kind of like a slight bloom or a little bit. I'm not going to call it blur.
I don't know how you would explain bloom in layman's terms.
The image looks soft. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So you can create kind of like a soft look. Some soap operas use like mist filters. They use like really intense ones. So it's, if you can think of that, that's kind of like what it looks like. But it essentially gives the image a little bit more of a stylistic look. Like it might give it a little bit more of a nostalgic vibe depending on the scenario. So I don't know. I think it's got a good application for some getting ready stuff.
Getting ready, yes.
If it's like sunset and stuff, it gets a little bit too bloomy, so I don't really play around with it there. But I don't know. I might feel it out based on the situation. If I'm feeling creative, I might throw it on there too. But it stays in the bag just in case I need it. There's also a polarizer in there too, which if for some reason there's weird reflections we're dealing with, then there's that. But again, usually you just throw on the ND filter for that because they have built-in polarizers too.
Meanwhile,
Nick's like, I don't use any filters.
I don't even bring them.
Nick's lenses are raw dog.
I'll bring them on a good day. They'll be in my bag and just unused.
Well, you know, you could keep your lenses a little bit more clean if you have a filter on it as well. But
yeah, we'll just get some UE filters.
Just throw on an ND. Anyway,
moving on.
that's all the camera related stuff, unless you can think of anything else. But all
No,
that
I mean,
allows us to
the more
run pretty
important
smoothly
stuff
on
is
the
the
day.
audio.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely more important stuff. Our audio kit, I think we've got it down at this point. There might be some upgrades we're making this year. We'll see. Starting with kind of like our main beast is the Tascam X8, which is our recorder that we plug into the DJ board. And this is important because, again, it's not transmitting any wireless signals. It's recording internally. It has XLR, which, again, if you're not a gear nerd, XLR is like the best audio port.
It also has quarter inch.
Yeah, it has XLR, quarter inch. I think you can plug in like regular aux if you unscrew the things on the top. I think you can plug in regular aux to those. But so the things on the top kind of like record ambient audio if you have them screwed in. But if you don't have them screwed in, they're recording nothing. So if for some reason we need like to just use a regular aux cord, then I think it can go into there. Don't quote me.
That would have been helpful on that magician thing. I think that was what I needed. Anyway. So yeah, our main recorder.
Any good DJ will have XLR or quarter inch.
Always, yeah.
So that's the main recorder. It has something called 32-bit float, which basically means we can kind of have it set at whatever kind of like level we want it to be at. And then we have a lot of flexibility in post-production to kind of like fine tune the audio. But just smack the mic. I did it twice. Sorry about that. 32-bit float. Basically, I mean, most of the time we have to turn the levels way down anyway because the DJ feed is coming out hot. And that's kind of like the primary use case for it. Basically, any like, have you ever seen those videos on like TikTok where it's like headphone users beware? And it's just like the audio is just jacked like super loud. That's kind of like the default setting coming out of the DJ board.
Yeah.
And so it's really tough to save that a lot of the times. Sometimes the audio gets really crunchy and mushy and stuff. But with 32-bit float, you have a little bit more flexibility. So that's huge. Like that's a non-negotiable that we had to have in our big recorder is have a little bit more push and pull room.
Yeah, we did have two. We each had one. Mine fritzed out last year, so now as a backup, I have the Zoom F3, which is all the same specs. I don't think it has quarter inch, but XLR.
A little bit smaller.
Way, way smaller, but it's really just a backup. On a wedding day, I still prefer to use the X8 because I'm so accustomed to it, and it has a more like visual display.
Yeah, visual display, touchscreen, like
so I like know 100% it's like working.
Yeah, it's a lot more user friendly in my opinion.
It is, but I think the F3 it's good for what I need it for other things.
Yeah. So Tascam X8 keeps us going, capturing all the DJ audio. Next up is our Labs, which is also from Tascam, and we have.
I think we should convert fully. I have two of them now to the Tascam 10.
So
DR10L Pro.
Yeah. So the original Labs we had were just the regular Tascam DR10Ls, and they're great because, you can buy them in a set of two where there's a black one and then there's a white one. So the white one's great for the bride. Black one's great for the groom. Blends in nice. I don't think they have a DR10L Pro in the white yet.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like,
all you need to change is the mic.
All you need is the white wire.
Yeah, and then
because it's going to go in the white
covered.
sleeve anyway, and it's opaque enough that you can't even see the color.
Yeah,
in the thigh strap. So yeah, I think we just need a white cord and we're good to go.
Yes. So on a given day, I mean, I have two Labs in my bag. I have a black one and a white one. How many do you bring? I forget. You have a white one as well.
I think last year I was bringing 3.
Okay.
Because I didn't get the second Pro until recently. So I used to bring my 1 Pro and then my 2 regulars of the black and white. But now I have 2 Pros. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We might need to just get a couple more Pros and just replace them all.
Yeah, that's probably smart. I might do that.
Because they're 32-bit.
Yes.
That's
the big
point
thing.
of what we're trying to make here.
Yeah. And so the Tascam DR10Ls, a lot of great benefits with them. One of them is, so you have the ability to kind of like set auto levels, but have them, you can put a limiter on it so that, you know, your audio is never peaking and getting crunchy like I was talking about
Honestly,
before.
so nice. Once we like set those.
Yeah.
Yeah, limiter is great.
The only tricky thing about audio levels is if somebody's not talking and then they're suddenly talking, sometimes you get a little bit of that ambience in the beginning because, you know, if they're not talking, the auto levels are like adjusting for what's going on around them. That's what I've noticed at least. So it's not like podcast mics essentially.
Well, you know, I don't think at least I don't think mine are set like that anymore.
Oh,
I think I took it off of auto. I kept the limiter, but it's not on auto.
Oh,
so I avoid.
Maybe I need to change
I
mine.
avoid that like ramp up because that used to piss me off.
Okay, maybe I need to change that then. But yeah, they're great for that. They also, an underrated feature about all the Tascam products is that, it sounds like a con, but they're difficult to turn on and off. But they're like that.
That's true.
So they can't accidentally turn on and off.
Yeah, I would never really worry about it being accidentally turned off.
Yeah. Basically, you have to like wedge your like fingernail in there and like slide it down to turn it on and then slide it up to record.
And the wire locks in.
The wire screws in and locks into place. So you kind of know like once you turn it on, like it's going. And that's great. They take
AAA.
They take AAA batteries, which I would assume allows them to run longer. Kind of sucks that they're not like rechargeable, so you have to keep buying tons of AAA batteries, but I think it gives them more battery life. Like you can, from a full charge, you can probably, I would assume it's like 8 to 10 hours of runtime from start to finish.
I would say around 8-ish.
8?
They definitely had, on the day we were filming BTS for that wedding, the one I was wearing died. But I had it on all day, so I don't know how long it actually died at, but I know when I took it off, it was dead.
I think I've seen, because a lot of the times, if we're throwing it on bride and groom, it has to at least go 4 hours.
The max they word is 4 hours, yeah. And they're fine. They would never die for 4 hours.
Yeah, because we've put it on getting ready, and then we take it off usually sometime after the ceremony, but sometimes we can't get to them in time, so it takes a little bit longer. I think if it does die,
it should
the file saves.
Yeah, it should.
So that's huge. And yeah, usually you don't need to worry about that anyway, as long as you throw a fresh battery in. And you know, the file sizes are small, so you can just have a 32 gigabyte micro SD in there and you never ever have to worry about running out of space. Maybe a little bit more on the 32-bit float side, but
still
at least for the original DR10Ls, it's super easy. So that's huge. We love those. And again, the huge thing about our labs is that they're not wireless. They're not transmitting any signals, which some people are like, oh, wires get clunky and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But we have ways to hide the wires and stuff in a way where it's like not intrusive. They're pretty lightweight. You know, if you're the groom, you throw it in the inside pocket of your jacket. If you're the bride, we have a strap that goes around your thigh. It feels like compression, but there's like a little pocket for the receiver to slide in there. And that works in most cases. I think some people get, you know, miking up the bride gets controversial.
I personally still don't like to.
Yeah,
like,
I don't love it, but I don't love doing it, but I love the end result.
Yes,
and that's what does it.
Like when we get it, the audio is obviously
so much better,
super helpful, and it sounds significantly better. But as much as the audio is important, I care more about the person, like the bride's like experience. So like if she really doesn't want to do it, I'm just gonna tell her it's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah. And I think most of them are cool with it because we literally bring it up on the first call we have so that they know what to expect. So if they're looking for somebody that's like a complete fly on the wall and like not intrusive at all, then they know kind of like, hey, we're going to be like doing a few things.
We're a little intrusive.
We're not that intrusive, but you know, we put a mic on you.
There's been a couple of times where it just doesn't work with specific dresses. And like, that's another thing. Like I would never want to compromise that. Like the look at the dress. Like if it's going to affect how the dress looks, don't wear it. Yeah.
Sometimes if
it's a really tight dress.
Yeah, tight dresses.
You can sometimes see the wire.
Yeah. And I mean, no, it's usually the receiver thing. And I tell them to put the receiver kind of like more on the inside of their leg. So if there is a chance of it sticking out on the outside, then it gets hidden a little bit. But even with some of those tighter dresses, the compression shows, like, depending on what they're wearing. But yeah, that's like, we only mic up the bride if we can. We do our best to, and make it a seamless experience for her.
I think something we're planning on experimenting, I think, is the Bumblebee, whatever
that's
called.
what I was going to say.
I figured that's
upgrades.
what you were talking about. Because right now we use the default clips that come with these lav mics, and they're fine. So we can clip them on the inside, so it does hide out a little bit more than clipping it on the outside. But for our sake, for like less ruffling, like this.
I hope you can hear that.
I'm sure you can. And also like for the photographer's sake of hiding it for their photos, because we do care about that.
Yeah.
It's way easier for everyone if the mic is just completely hidden all the time.
Yeah. Because like I go back and forth all the time with these clips and kind of like proper ways to use it and stuff. So I used to clip the mic on the inside so that all you could see on the outside is just like a tiny little piece of metal. So it's not much there. I used to do that. Then I was getting some results where it was rubbing too much on the inside and then the audio was unusable. So then I switched it to the outside. But then you have the issues with wind and optics. Like, it doesn't look great when the mic is on the outside. And then if it's a windy day, like, you know, the audio gets kind of like distorted a little bit. So then I would go back and forth, but I think these kind of like little pieces, it's like a little,
it's like felt.
It's like felt tape wind muff in one sort of thing.
So it stops wind and it stops it from ruffling around.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing is too, we can probably put it, if we're doing it for the bride side, I think we can put it on her dress before she gets into it.
Yes.
Which makes it a little bit more seamless for her. I know sometimes it's like a little awkward when, you know, you need to clip the thing to the bra area, and like sometimes it's hard to find a spot for that, you know.
Well, normally they do it.
Yeah, normally they do it. Sometimes
I don't think I've ever had to.
I've been asked a couple times.
Oh, they always do like, it. I just tell them like,
I'm gonna do this very delicately,
here.
Or I'll just usually ask like a maid of honor to put it
just
somewhere.
Like, if you could just clip it right over there,
yeah,
that'd be great.
right there, yeah, that's good. But yeah, I think we should try that out. Obviously, it gets a little bit more wasteful with all the stickies and stuff, but it's totally worth it. And I think it's better wind management too.
It is, yeah.
So definitely going to be adding that to the kit.
And from what I hear, because Kayla uses them,
oh yeah,
one of my fears was they would like fall off, but she said they're like very sticky. Like
that's
you
good.
have no fear of it falling off.
Yeah. So that's kind of like our lav situation. Kind of like, honestly, I've used more lav stuff this year because of like DJ feeds not being as great. Some of them not their fault, some of them their fault, but for a lot of the situations, I was liking the up close sound of the lavs, especially for the ceremony. We don't have any lavs on for the reception, which is, you know, why we also kind of like having the X8 because we have more flexibility with that.
We have other backups for the reception.
Yes, which it's a great segue. Our backup mic, it's called the Sony TX660. So if you're a wedding videographer, you know exactly what this thing is. It's like a little, our nickname for it is the Kit Kat because it's
more accurately though, it looks like a jewel.
Yeah. Yeah. But we like calling it the Kit Kat because it's just a nicer name. Nicer name than TX660. But what this thing is, yeah, it looks like a jewel. It goes on, well, it can go anywhere. But our primary use case for it is that it goes on the speeches microphone. You could also use it at the ceremony if there's a microphone there. But we have like a little like elastic band where this thing can like slide in, clip to it, and you just put it on that mic, and it gets a little bit more of the surrounding environment that I would like. I would like it to be a little bit more directional, but it's a backup. So, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and it's small enough where like, say like first look with dad, if you quickly want his audio, just grab that, throw it in his jacket pocket or something. Like, it's super easy like that as well.
Yeah. And I think you could, there's a port on top that you can put like a little, like I don't know what those mics are called, but you can plug in something like little to the top there, and I wonder if that would help. I probably won't do it though, just because like it's just gonna add size to it and it's gonna look silly. Yeah. So I think we'll just try to keep the profile as slim as possible. But TX660 was huge because we used to tape these. We used to tape wireless microphones.
Rode Wireless goes.
Yeah. And the problem with that is that, you know, there's a wireless signal, so there's chance of interference if the DJ is running a wireless microphone system. And also,
more likely than not, we probably did screw up some audio back in the day.
I'm not going to say we did, but
I don't remember, but I'm sure we probably did a little.
Yeah, if there's like a little hiss in the background or like some clicking, there might be like interference. And then also like we moved away from those because of the tape. The tape was just like super tacky. DJs didn't like it. Nobody liked looking at the tape. I didn't like it. Yeah. We used to play it off. We were like, oh, like it comes right off. And it did. It just looked like crap.
We were totally lying.
But yeah, now we're glad we had the TX660. Got our shotgun mics for our cameras, which kind of useless, but
totally useless. I just throw it on just because it's habit.
It's better in some cases than the internal camera audio if for some reason you need to rely on that. Hopefully you never have to rely on that because of all of our backups, but you know, we have them just because, so we just keep those in the bag. And we just have like endless cable options. XLR to quarter inch to XLR, XLR to aux, quarter inch to aux, like XLR to XLR,
Matt
XLR
Johnson's
adapters.
Little kit. I gotta bring that every time now.
Yeah, we have tons and tons and tons of options there. Different lengths of XLR cords. You know, I think we have all black cords as well, just for aesthetics' sake too.
Matt's are blue. But
well. Can't use those now.
I mean, no, I'll always bring a 10-foot XLR because sometimes I've been with Alex a few times and his XLRs were like 4 feet and they didn't reach the ground when they were plugged into the speaker. So it was just dangling. So we always had to find something to like put the thing on because it couldn't go on top and it couldn't hit the ground. So we're like, all right, I'm bringing a 10-foot. I don't care. Like it's excessive, but it's always going to be long enough.
And for those of you watching who don't know what an XLR is, let me see if I can kind of like bring this around here. It's like these. I don't know if you can see the little cable here. I'm not going to unplug it, but yeah, these are XLR cords and they go into our little podcast recorder. That's audio.
Is there more? I feel like this has been a long episode.
There's more.
Like, there's more.
There's more. Our grip bags. It's our big rolling. We have a big rolling bag where we put our light stands.
Okay, so sticks.
Tripods, which pretty simple. I mean, we don't need to go too in depth on tripods. We have 2 larger tripods that we use for the 2 outside ceremony cams, and then we use those for the main speeches cameras.
Yeah, just because they have the telephoto lenses on them, so they're more sturdy in case there's any wind or people stomping by, shaking the ground or something. Like it'll just be a little more sturdy.
They're pretty. They also have like fluid heads on them too, so if we need to move, if you know Dad's pacing back and forth while he's doing his speech, we can track him with those tripods. Then we have a couple kind of like backup smaller tripods for situations where we need them. You know, we'll pull them out for the first look probably if we need
we tried to
locked
do that
off angle.
Sometimes.
I have one that folds down really small. So if there's a scenario where I need to like throw it in my cup holder, it can fit in my cup holder and then strap to my bag. And it's really lightweight. So we usually
yours
use
is way smaller, but for me personally, it takes me longer to set yours up because there's more legs and like mine is just like boom, boom, boom.
But think of it as like if Apple made a tripod, it's not as intuitive as some of the other ones. It's like very specific to this tripod. But they were trying to make more of a like, I guess, what's the word? Evolutionary design or revolutionary design. That's what I meant. They're trying to like do some new things, but it's carbon fiber. It's lightweight, so it works for that scenario. So we got a bunch of different tripod options. Obviously, we have our gimbals for the gimbal guys.
RS3 Pro and whatever
RS4 Pro. You should get one.
Wait, you're the 4 Pro?
I have the 4 Pro.
Oh.
I used to have an RSC too because it was light. It was lightweight and the payload was good enough for our A7S3s. But I was just noticing like a lot of micro jitters since it was kind of on the higher end of the payload. So I just got the RS4 Pro, which is built for, you can put a lot bigger setups on it than my A7S3 and a 35
No,
millimeter.
yeah, they're built for, same with mine. I think it's a 3 Pro. They're built for cinema cameras. Like it's supposed to hold like an FX6.
Yeah.
Or it can probably fit an FX9.
Yeah, but they're super smooth. You can calibrate them to your camera setup. And not too heavy. I mean, anything gets heavy when you're holding it all day. So our backs are always going to hurt at the end of the day. But I rigged mine out for a couple different like handheld points. Nick leaves his pretty bare bones just because that's what he prefers. We always feel really weird when we grab each other's gimbals. We're like, this feels unnatural. So we usually just stick to our own.
It's very rare. It's like really just for quick things like, and I'm like, I have to.
Yeah.
But I'll grab it for like one shot and then I'll instantly switch back. Like,
yeah.
No.
The best part about these gimbals is the auto locking axes. So it's like, you know, DJI had locking axes starting with their second generation of the Ronin gimbals, but you had to manually do it. Now, if you hit the power button, it will auto lock and that allows you to change your lens quickly and quickly rebalance. You can focus on one axis at a time. It also just makes it less floppy around when you're
I do it
carrying
more
from
so
place
to
to
look
place.
cool. I do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
When it's locked and I turn it on, it auto like turns on. I purposely do it sometimes when I'm like in a crowd, so then people stare at me like, "Whoa!"
It's
I'm
like a transformer,
yeah,
like Optimus Prime.
no, exactly. I like do it timely on purpose, like when I know people are watching.
Just on the run, just like. So yeah, that's nice, and that's why we have those gimbals. Haven't tried any other brands of it, but probably just gonna stick with DJI.
I mean, my first one was the Ronin M, and then I had the RS, the original Ronin S.
Workhorse. That kept you going for a while.
Yeah, then I just wanted a new one.
Which, did you ever have the problem with the grip like fading on that one, or did
No,
that?
not on that one, but
Yeah,
this one.
the newer
Lesser
DJI
quality.
Ronins have like the grip on it is like coming off very easily. I don't know what glue they're using or if they're even using
No,
any
and then
glue.
it like gets on my hands, and then it
Little
gets all
sticky.
gross.
Yeah, we should probably just tape those up like a nunchuck. But yeah, that's our gimbals. We got our tripods. We got these are fun, the cheetah stands, which not even a lot of photographers or videographers
No one
know
knows
about
what these
them.
are. Like,
Basically, they're called cheetah
they
stands
actually
because of
are
how
officially called cheetah
fast
stands.
they're called cheetah stands because of how fast you can set them up and break them down, and move them around. So the main draw of it is, so they're smaller, lightweight light stands for our small light panels. It's all we need. So we'll throw a little ball head on top of it so that we can angle our lights in any which direction. And then the great thing about these cheetah stands is once you have it kind of like set up, you can pick it up and the legs will like condense down. So
They automatically collapse.
yeah. So like if you're moving it, it makes it so much faster and safer. Like you don't have to worry about poking somebody with the legs sticking out. It'll just kind of like streamline into a single pole, and then you could plop it down wherever you want and they'll just fold back out, which they're great. I can't
I've
imagine
definitely
working a
taken
wedding
them for
without
granted
them.
because like I've been so used to them. But there's been multiple occasions now that I can specifically think of where we're carrying them around.
Yeah.
For like cake cutting, things like that, we're always just grabbing them.
Yeah, because if you needed to like break it down, usually you'd have to loosen some sort of nut or whatever on like traditional light stands.
So yeah, they really are a game changer.
Yeah. A little loud. And just like
Yeah, I don't
clink.
care about
Who
that.
cares? I'm glad we have added this next item to our.
God, there's more. I'm like, when is
I
this
wrote
gonna
all the
end?
things down.
This is probably like an hour or something long.
Yeah, they tuned out. half an hour ago, but it's fine. Still want to talk about it. I'm glad we added our little small sandbags, which has probably saved
you were
some
so
lives.
high on those, like you wanted to get them so bad.
Tell me you don't agree though. Like
There has been times where they've come close to falling over.
Yeah, the cheetah stands and the lights, they're lightweight so that they can, be small, out of the way. The problem is they're so out of the way, people don't notice them.
And they're so lightweight that you could knock them down pretty easily.
Exactly. So we've had a few close calls. I'm sure, each of us have like caught one, like literally falling before we had these sandbags. So we've got these tiny little, I don't even know if they're 5-pound sandbags.
They're 5, yeah.
And they don't add that much weight to our...
I thought they were right here, but never mind.
No, they're in my car, which...
I have some.
Funny story. You should probably just keep them in your car because I needed them twice in the past 3 days. The first time I hit a curb and I popped my tire last week. And what you have to do is usually before you jack up your car, you have to like lock off the wheel diagonal to the tire that you're taking off. And I used them for that and it was perfect. It was like the perfect little size to kind of like jam underneath the wheel. And then I used them this morning because my car was stuck in a bunch of ice and I put the wheels couldn't grab onto anything. So I put them in front of the wheels and that like helped me get out, which we tried to do that when we got our car stuck in Iceland and it didn't work as well. But I don't even remember what we were using for that. But even if you're not a filmmaker, get some sandbags. They're actually pretty practical for
I've
your
never
car.
used them outside of weddings and to hold up our podcast microphones.
Survival
Like, there might be
instincts.
one on your stand over there, but yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I'm glad we have them now. They prevented some kids getting hurt. Freaking kids.
Should have just let it fall.
Should have just let it fall. All right. Well then. I keep an extension cord in there if we need it, but come to think of
I
it.
probably used to, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we plugging in now? It would honestly just be for like if we're charging batteries, but now we have so many batteries we don't need to charge them. So I guess I could probably like leave that. Honestly, it's more so to just if somebody else needs it. It's kind of like a little extra piece. And it's always just in the bottom of the bag. It doesn't take up that much space. So I leave an extension cord in there. And we just have like tons of AA and AAA batteries for our audio gear. And again, if anybody else needs it for stuff. Last few things, exciting things. This past year, we started using our Hollyland headsets.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about those.
Game changer. Game changer.
You were against them.
I
You
was
didn't
because they
want
looked
them.
stupid.
I thought they looked cool from the beginning.
Here's the thing. Like, if you're an event videographer and you're doing this at like corporate events, they definitely make you look more legit. I was skeptical about using them at weddings because I felt like they would like ruin the aesthetic. I think honestly we've gotten more compliments. Be like, oh, you look so official, sort of thing.
Yeah. They say you look cool, not like you work like at McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You know,
nobody's gonna tell us if we look
You
stupid. So
look
maybe
like-
we do. But
You look like a McDonald's drive-thru employee, but
yeah,
they sound and work amazingly.
we tried this other like little walkie-talkie set.
It was some basic thing from like Amazon, and like I've seen other people use that, and like they've said they work fine.
Those ones looked a little bit more slim and like
They
CIA
looked
agent.
cool,
Yeah,
and like
you looked
people
cool
got.
wearing
I
them.
think I got more compliments with that. Like I definitely heard someone say the words Secret Service,
Yeah.
and I overheard them saying it. I was like, they're definitely talking about
Pair
me.
that with some sunglasses and you've
But
got the job.
the quality was so bad we couldn't hear each other.
Yeah.
And like there's no point.
And I think the range was actually worse.
No, the range technically was way better.
Was it?
It was supposedly because the walkie-talkies, they're supposedly
Oh, yeah.
miles.
Well, they were crappy walkie-talkies, but you could probably just put them on like good walkie-talkies, right?
You could, but I think it wasn't the walkie-talkie itself. It was like the mic piece that was the issue for
Yeah.
me, like just the audio quality.
And so didn't you have to press a button to kind of like ping the other walkie-talkie? Kind of like if you're using a regular walkie-talkie, you have to hold down a button
Well, yeah,
and be like,
you had to hold it as you talk,
yeah.
and I didn't care about that.
And it sounds like a walkie-talkie. And if you have anything in between you, then the audio quality is just not good. And the biggest reason is you have to kind of speak up a little bit for the other person to hear you, or else it just sounds like static. And so, you know,
Then it
a
got
lot
to the
of
point where we were
times,
screaming.
Yeah.
And I was like, everyone can hear me.
a lot of the times we need to like whisper, and that wouldn't be able to pick up our whispers. So we got the Hollyland headsets, and they like completely changed the way we work.
They really have.
For the better. Like, honestly, they have allowed us to get better shots. I mean, the use case I always give when I'm like trying to sell these to other people essentially is, I remember we were in a reception area. I was trying to get a shot of the couple, and you were like moving lights, and I just like flipped my headset down. I was like, leave that light there because it actually looks really good for the shot. And we got a better shot because of it. And there's been countless other scenarios where, especially during the ceremony, we can communicate with each other by just whispering.
Yeah,
And
the whispering is huge in that scenario.
usually for like the groom reaction shot, I feel like we use it for. It's like,
I think
hey,
we
who's
use it a lot
getting
for first dance because we need
Yes.
to make it as a film. So both angles basically need to be usable
Yes.
almost all the time. So it's like when one of us wants to move angles, the other's like, all right, hold, I'm going to move.
Yeah.
And the other moves while the other keeps their steady. And then once the other's in their place, it's like, okay, now you can move freely.
Yeah. And again, you can do that by, all you have to do is just flip the microphone down. You don't have to press a button. And you can kind of
there's
just
an
like,
option, but like, why would you? So we set it so it's flip down, turns on, flip up, mutes.
yeah. Put the thing down.
We're just like chilling like 100 feet away, just having a long conversation.
Yeah. I get caught sometimes because the photographer's like, who are you talking
No,
to?
I feel like that happens to you all the time.
They're like,
Because then sometimes I hear them and they're like, you're talking to Nick, aren't you?
yeah. They'll be like, who are you talking to? Or it's like, usually we'll be like in a conversation, and then one of us will just say something random, and then the other one of us will be like, oh, he had to talk to somebody else real quick.
I feel like it's pretty obvious now.
Yeah.
It might have taken a little to get used to, but I know now if we're like mid conversation and you say something out of context, it's like, okay, he's clearly having a real conversation right now.
Yeah. The other benefit, I think we've talked about it before, but if we're split up and the second photographer is with one of us, the main photographer is with the other one of us.
They use us.
They use us as a line of communication, which is huge. So game changer. Those are not going anywhere. We're going to keep using those.
I just wish the range was better.
Yeah. And I guess like that's like the only, we talk a lot about audio and not having like wireless signals. I think you can like adjust the frequency on these to like not be the same frequency.
Maybe. I wouldn't know.
But we've tested it out too with like DJ sets, and it's not interfering with that. So that's good. Obviously we've got our drone as well. Get those aerial shots. We used to bring both of them, but like I just bring mine now because I'll take on the flying from here on out. Just get those aerial shots, get the venue, the beautiful place you're getting married. Gotta love it. Got all the batteries in there, all the licenses and things. Gotta make sure if cop pulls up on you, license and registration. It's the same thing. You need a license and registration with your drone, kind of like you do for a car. So you gotta pull that out. Then last thing, this is the final thing in our whole kit, unless you think of anything I forgot, is our clear umbrellas.
Oh, yeah.
And we always, if there's rain in the forecast, we've got those, which is huge.
They're in the car all the time.
Yeah.
Like they're in my car right now.
Well, that's just because you don't take anything out of your car.
That's also true.
But that's everything. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think of like are there any other kind of like little non-camera things that we bring on the day that kind of like help it run smoothly? I think it's kind of just like the clear umbrellas and the headsets.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we'll start bringing pocket knives to cut holes in shirts.
I mean, I bring gum and chapstick. That's my personal essentials.
Advil.
I need to be chewing gum. I have Advil in my backpack all the time, though.
Emergency medication. That's always good. That's always good to have. Oh, business cards. Got to bring the business cards. Always networking, always closing. So, yeah, that hopefully this was like insightful. If it was like completely boring, I mean, obviously you haven't made it to this point in the episode if it was completely boring for you, but I hope it's like insightful if you're not somebody who's super familiar with the gear, and hopefully it gives you a little bit more kind of like a behind the scenes look on why we choose what we choose, and
Right.
you know, how it allows us to produce the stuff that we do. I mean, we could probably strip this down to just a couple cameras, a couple 24-70s, maybe some tripods, and then you can film a wedding.
You
but
could.
all like the little things that we have and have accumulated over the years come from very
our
specific
style,
use
it's
cases.
how we shoot it.
Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully it was helpful. As always, make sure you give this episode a 5-star review, a like on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, at SeaMount Weddings. And if you're looking to book a wedding for yourself, visit SeaMountWeddings.com. Anything else in the plugs? No.
Nope, that's it.
That's
See
it.
ya.
All right. See ya.